Good morning, everyone. My name is David Jaroszewski, and I'm going to be reviewing the book Leaving to Learn by Elliot Washer and Charles Majowski. And I'm going to be focused on work-based learning and the overall structure of Leaving to Learn big picture learning schools. So, real quick to recap, WBLs or work-based learning programs seek to connect, college and career together through the use of programs and internships with business leaders, industry leaders, etc. So they have those like 21st century hands-on skills that they can apply to their career and apply back into the classroom. Um, so WBL programs are a part of the big picture learning programs or the Leaving to Learn programs. It's just a component of it. So CTE, career technical education, linked learning, work-based learning, L2Ls, all of these programs promote student interests first and engage them by giving them practical, applicable skills that they can use in life. So it really makes the learning that they're doing in class as well as in their internships relevant. So I'm going to quickly review the book. I'm going to talk about it real quick. So I'm going to go over the causes of student disengagement and dropout rates, which are really important, student-teacher expectations, the ways that these schools can help students learn productively. So learning productively means it really engenders in them this aspiration to learn more. And I'm going to talk about the support these schools need to be successful. And then I'm just going to quickly review my personal thoughts about the book. So the reasons of student problems, I think they do a really good job of going over them. The big four are academic failure, behavioral problems, life events, and disinterest. I feel like a lot of the times students, well, I should say as teachers, we think of students as, oh, they're failing because they're not trying hard or this or that. But this book does a really good job of really focusing in on the major issues of why kids are, why we're failing our kids and why they drop out. And then the bottom four is like, if you can imagine the top four being the tip of the iceberg, I think the bottom four are really important in getting this idea of why students drop out. So the big four underneath are not fitting in, not mattering, schools and teachers overlooking their talent or interests. We're just ignoring what they're interested in and just focused on one standard cookie cutter curriculum for all kids, and school restrictions. So the student hopes and expectations. This book does a really good job of focusing more on the student as opposed to teacher expectations. So it's just asking us, do teachers make an effort to get to know the students, the relevance of the curriculum? Are these skills and knowledge that they're using in the classroom, is it applicable to real life? Is it relevant to them? Giving them choices, do they have like agency and a say over their learning? Do they feel like they have autonomy and independence in the classroom? And also giving them opportunities to just explore and play. So everything's not so strict and rigid, giving them an actual chance to play around with the material to gain further learning. So some of the ways that these leaving to learn schools can really help students succeed and engage are in a variety of ways, and the book does a really good idea of laying it out. So experts and residents are essentially like guest speakers. It could be parents, it could be community leaders, it could be people who are experts in, say, petroleum, oil, engineering, biotech. I mean, it could be any field, anything that is you're teaching the students in class. You can bring an expert from the outside community or industry or businesses into the classroom to really get them engaged and to have a different voice talk about the content. Road trips, field trips are pretty self-explanatory. Just getting them out of the classroom and giving them that hands-on learning is always a great way to really catalyze comprehension of what you're talking about. Community service is obviously a great way to build connections in the community. It also builds a more empathetic student who's helping on the community, whether it's planting trees or helping pick up trash. Whatever it is, it could be a myriad things. It's always really useful. Internships, again, we've been talking about that all class and over the summer. Working in a specific field, industry, really gives you those technical and specialized skills that students need to succeed after high school, whether it's in college or the career. And they also learn a lot about how to just behave in a professional setting, how to interact with adults, social norms, communication skills, working in large groups. After school programs, gap year is essentially it's like a leave of absence almost. So after they graduate, they get a year to just explore, travel. It's a little harder for students who are unfortunately living under the poverty line, or they don't have the monetary resources to do that. But that's always a great way. Essentially, it's just giving them extra time to finish high school, or time in between high school and college, or high school and a career, and independent study. So some of the ways we can support Leaving to Learn schools are a multi-year plan. This reform, educational reform, is very ambitious. So usually you have to implement it in steps. It's really, really tough to try and implement it in one district or even one school over the course of an entire year. Professional teacher training. Teachers need to be prepared for this program because obviously it's very ambitious. Preparing students and parents alike, actually, in giving them just a public relations blitz and letting them know like what this program's all about. Because a lot of parents grew up in a traditional setting of how schools taught students, but it's 2019 and we really need to rethink how we teach our students in a quickly evolving world. Making connections with industry partners, experts, community members, everyday people is obviously very important because you can't have the externships and internships and work programs if you don't make those healthy, mutually beneficial connections with industry partners. And then there's obviously redesigning the entire school curriculum to fit it. So I thought the book did a fabulous job of like illuminating and highlighting some of the issues of student disengagement and why students drop out. I feel like a lot of times we focus on what we expect of the student. I thought they did a great job of explaining like we expect so many things of our students, and what are their expectations, etc. But we never ask what the student expects of their teachers, or what they expect of their learning, or what they expect of the school where they spend, a majority of their, young adult lives in. So it's really focusing on student interests and passions and expectations, and that should be our job as teachers, is like nurturing and fostering their interests, and we shouldn't be like forcing them into one category or one box. We should be letting them explore and discover new passions and interests, and I thought they did a really good job of making it a student-centric problem, issue, because it is a student-centered problem, and we need to be doing our best to cater to their needs, because they're the most important product of a school is the students, and we should be helping them out because it's better for our country as a whole. It lays out a really broad and detailed plan of how to increase student engagement. So it's not just giving you a bunch of broad, okay, I get your point, like big picture concepts, but it actually gives you pretty detailed examples of how you can start to really it's like increase student engagement and support in these schools, which I think was great. As well as it acknowledges the difficulty of implementing these plans. So restructuring whole schools and helping the teachers and finding partners and internships is a really daunting task at first, and it requires a lot of resources. So I think it did a good job of laying it out, but it shouldn't inhibit or prohibit us from seeking out uh, this program, because it really does a fabulous job and of really just forcing us to rethink how we view education in this country, because for too long we viewed it through like this mass industrialized way of educating our students, because as we know, public schools really first started to rise during the Industrial Revolution in the early 20th century, and we're still, for the most part, teaching our kids in that way. And it's 2019. We really, really, really need to rethink how we're teaching our kids. So overall, I really enjoyed the book, and so did my dog. Stop whining. And then here are some of the references I used. Here's the book. A lot of these were from some of the resources you offered in class. This one I really enjoyed, the big picture ones, and then getting WBL programs from other states and seeing how they ran their programs was obviously very interesting, and resources I'll use in other classes.